had this idea that I wanted to bring here today, like talking to you, like Will. I don't know. I've heard some of your material, and I heard you mention that you're. I think you said you have a daughter,
Hmm.
and that I think you said that probably like close to 10. I think you said 8.
Yeah, 8.
So my son is 4, my daughter's 3 months old, and Sean's son is just about a year, over a year. And
Yeah, he's a year and a half.
yeah, so I was just like thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, this is going to be an interesting talk, because we have kind of this trifecta of people coming together at different stages of fatherhood, where Will can bring a little bit of foresight, and Sean and I, like, Will can bring foresight to the both of us, and then I could bring a little bit more foresight for Sean, and Sean and I can bring a little bit of hindsight for Will,
Hmm.
and Sean can bring some hindsight for me as well. And it's just like this, like, really great, kind of,
That's a smart way of thinking about it. It's
like,
like
Yeah.
past,
you know,
present, future kind of thing.
right,
Like,
like, where, and like, it's, dude, the amount of the amount of times that, like, I go and I'm in, and I go to, this, that, or the other thing for my kids, like a doctor's appointment or something like that, or whatever. And I start asking these people questions about, what they're doing, what their plans are, what the hell, like, what the things mean and stuff like that. Their heads roll. They spin right round on their shoulders, because
yeah.
they're like, you're the dad, you're just supposed to sit over there, and shut up, like, you're
Right.
not supposed to
You're
ask
asking
questions.
questions? What the fuck?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like, what?
And actually, James's second child, his second, his daughter was born just recently. So he
Yeah,
had,
in
and
February.
this was after.
Congrats.
Thank you. She's beautiful. She's absolutely beautiful. It's just like, how did we hit it out of the park 2 times? I cannot fucking believe it. And my son is just the most amazing little dude I've ever met in my life. He's so compassionate, he's so caring. And it's like, we were all like that at one point. What happened to everybody? We were all that. We had nothing but imagination. We had nothing but care and compassion. What the fuck happened? What happened? And it's
Well,
proof
that's just
that
the way it is.
everyone,
Well,
yeah,
you just gotta
it's
just
just,
push them into this fucked up system of slavery and Satanism.
Yeah.
It's just go along to get along. Chop the end of his dick off. Whatever. Put him in public school. Give him some fucking poison in his blood. I just don't want to have anything to do with him because I'm busy working. I have to be a slave all day. I can't be bothered.
yeah.
It's so fucked. Like
When when my wife and I were in the hospital and she was giving birth to my daughter, and we were there for a couple of days. I became there was one of the doctors or nurses came in and everything like that, and I started grilling them. I was like, what, I started asking them questions and being like, okay, what are you doing for this, what are you doing for that, all that stuff, and like, and everything. And they go, oh, you're the guy with the questions.
Oh
I
shit.
became I became the guy with the
right.
questions. Like, I had a reputation out there, and it's like, oh yeah, that's me. Yeah,
Mm,
Thank
yeah,
God
that's
there's
me.
one of you. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
shit.
like,
Thank
you
God for
know,
that. At
I
least. Go
I've been
ahead.
through that experience. I've had my allopathic doctor experience with my daughter. She has a hemangioma on her cheek, which is also known as a strawberry patch. It's like
yep.
blood vessels in between the tissue, and it
My
actually
daughter's got one on
it
her
goes
arm.
away. Yeah,
Sorry.
it's no, it's really common, but hers was on her cheek, which made it a little more rare. So these doctors, they contacted us from San Francisco University. It's like one of the top in the country for hemangiomas, and they were super persistent. So we had a meeting with them. They wanted her to get on this new medication. It was actually a heart medication. And get this shit. They were like, and I'm like, okay, what are the side effects? I'm just asking questions. And they're like, oh, well, you have to check on her twice a night because her heart rate's going to lower. You need to make sure that she's still breathing. I was like, get the fuck out of
Wow.
here. So what they wanted to
Wow.
do is
What benefit would it be for you to put your kid at risk, such risk? How does that benefit you at all?
they were pretty much blown away when my daughter's mother and I were like, no. And we were going into it pretty much with no anyways. We just wanted to gather
course.
more information on it.
Right.
And they tried to convince us that the psychological effects of her having that on her cheek, she'd get, kids would tease her and she would be self-conscious. It would be in our best interest to get her on this experimental procedure,
Wow.
right? And for something that's purely cosmetic, which is going to go away as well.
They're going to tease
Yeah.
her
Gone now.
anyway. They're going to tease her anyway, dude. Even if she doesn't have a thing on her face, like her shoes are untied, like, oh, make fun of her. Like, that's what kids do. Like, oh my God, put them on drugs for that.
Oh, exactly. And
Well, that's
my
what
God,
we know
dude.
that, right? Young kids are on drugs. I don't have numbers on me, but we all know that it's just
Yeah.
it's through the roof. I mean,
Yeah.
a kid
It's nothing
can't
new.
sit still in his seat or in classroom. Get him on Ritalin, that kind of stuff.
James can talk to that, man.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
mean, you have high output energy. That is not a disadvantage whatsoever.
No.
There's just different ways of learning and adapting
Right.
to that, right?
Right.
But they
Exactly.
they want to atomize and quantify all the kids. Just stick a whole bunch of kids and
Like
put them in
Pavlov.
one. Yeah,
School them all together into a big school
exactly.
of fish.
Put them all
and
in
then
one box.
herd them over there and do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, who wants their kid to be a Pavlov dog? I mean, really. Like, if people would just fucking wake the fuck up and look at what the
sick
end
people.
product. Yeah, well, right. Nihilists,
Sick-
people that
sick- sick
that
people.
hate themselves, right? People that
Yeah.
are like subjected to this fucking satanic world that we live in all day, every day. Like, what else are they gonna think? You know,
Yeah,
it's like
People that are
That's-
afraid.
right.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
there's a
that's
lot of that.
really what it comes down to, right? Fear.
right.
That's why having
Yep.
a conversation like this is so important for a couple of reasons. The ages our children are, but yet still in the younger category. And then also we're fathers. When I was doing some research on my presentation, Conscious Parenting, I was looking up videos and stuff like that, see what other people are talking about. I didn't find any videos where fathers were actually putting out information, right?
Really,
It was mothers, and
Yeah.
I gained a lot of insight on that as well. But I think it's really important that fathers start to step up and engage in these
Right.
conversations. But obviously, as we
I
know what's
think-
going on in the world, to activate.
I'll bet you that was scrubbed. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Right.
Yeah.
The idea of a teenager is like a new thing for like the
Huh?
last 100 years or something. James, you don't know about that? Yeah, the teenager is a mind control device.
Oh yeah. I've heard of that because
Right.
sorry for shouting, but like no, like who there's major historical figures that like at extremely young ages would like inherit businesses and be running businesses at like 12, 13 years old and everything like that. Like by the time you were that age, you were
Right.
you were an adult.
And like every
But I mean, the average
exactly.
life expectancy was much lower than it is now. So
But
they
I
say.
mean, but
but-
your body is like able to run the tractor and shit. Like I was driving through
Yeah.
Amish country earlier today. And there
I
was
mean,
fathers,
wasn't it like Thomas Jefferson at like the age of like 11 or 12 years old was running the plantation?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
I'm
makes
pretty sure
sense.
there's
and
something
he
along
was,
those
and
lines.
he was raised among the slaves and stuff. Like he had
Yeah.
compassion for them. you know.
Yeah.
And like
So yeah.
he was able to run the shit because he had compassion for them, and they would listen to a 12-year-old because he cares. You know what I mean?
Well, they
Yeah.
like the idea of the teenager. Then, if it's only been what you say, the last 100 years, or maybe a little
Right.
over a century, right?
So basically, that is a device that prolongs childhood
Yeah,
and
that's what I was going to say.
makes adults children mentally.
That's what I was
So,
going to allude to. Yeah,
Prolongs indoctrination as well,
Yeah.
right?
right. And now Biden wants to have 4 more years of school. He wants your kid to go into school at 3, not 5, 3. And he wants everybody to have 2 years of community college for free after high school. 2 more years of high school. Dude, it's hell. And like, who would do that to their kid? If you love them, why would you do that to them?
Yeah, it's a pretty recent thing to have kindergarten and then preschool. You know, this is a pretty recent concept, and they just want to lower it and lower it and lower it. I mean, you know, right out the womb, they're already violating. You know, it's like
in the womb they violate.
Standard. Oh, absolutely,
I mean,
yeah.
They take the organs before they're even born. Like it's just, we don't need to go there. But
no,
yeah, they're vaccinating kids. You know, day one coming out.
Yeah.
So it's a trip, and that's all. It's all to put the wedge between the parents and the child.
It's important, like that we listeners that are expecting a baby and are having one at a facility like this, what to expect. Like my memory is fairly recent, and James just went through it. Like in Ohio, they take his blood. I can't refuse. They say they give it to the government. They don't. I'm like, in my insides, I'm like boiling. What? You know, and like I have to keep my composure because I don't want to be the guy that they have to fight. You know, and they did have to fight me. I put up a very hard fight with the K shot.
Vitamin K. Yeah.
Right. And like they gave us a hard time, and they didn't want us to leave with him. They were gonna claim him. And the only thing they could give for evidence was 6 babies at one hospital in Nashville, Tennessee. That is why you need to give everybody this goddamn vaccine. Like, what? Only 6? I refuse. And they say, well, no, you can't. We can tell the government that you're neglecting your child because we deem this necessary. And if you won't give it, then we're going to get the law involved. And that's some shit that we got to deal with as parents. And like, everybody needs to look at that shit. And you need to move to a place where you can be free.
That's such a powerful point, John. I mean, anybody that's listening and is expecting, you have to know that as soon as you walk through that hospital, they're making the claim right then and there. Your rights are going out the window because, like you were just, I know people that have had CPS called on them, Child Protective Services, because they didn't want to do the vitamin K shot. Or or they didn't go to their procedure, right? So,
or the well checks,
exactly.
checks too. If you don't show up, like, oh, what? You're not going well check? It's a well check. You don't want to see if he's well. Well, you must be a neglectful dude, and we need to get these guys with badges and guns. Like, fuck you, man. Like, I created this life with my life. And who are they to get in between and tell me what to do? You know, it's like if I own myself, then I own my son. Like my will is until he has a will of his own. Like, he's my body, and I protect that as such. And for them to come in and just be like, no, it's our duty. We must. Like, fuck you. Like, we need guns. Because fuck that. I will not allow that shit.
Yeah, well, here's some good solutions, right? Find a local midwife.
Right.
You can have a home birth. Um,
Home
uh,
birth is best, I think.
yeah, my daughter, she wasn't born at home, but we were lucky enough to find a knowledgeable midwife, and she pretty much ran the whole process. So, and we checked out early. My daughter's mother was phenomenal, and just a few hours later, she was ready to go home, and
Wow.
they put up a fight for that, right? There's
To
going
go
against
home. Right.
doctor's orders,
Right.
and but we were able to. But yeah, so people can look for midwives in their area,
Right.
or
And the midwife can work with the hospital that you're close to. You can
absolutely,
hire your own and bring them in. You don't have to work with the hospital staff.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And you can also, um, there's a Duma. What the fuck? Duma.
Doula.
Doula. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. There's also that. And you know, if you are in that facility, then they are taking claim. It's not. I mean, it's not like you can choose to not give him a social security number. you know, like, they know he exists,
yeah,
and they're gonna take it. They're gonna take his blood or her, and they're gonna take their genetics. You know what I mean? They're gonna file it away along with everybody else. Like, it's you. If you want to be free, home birth is the best, and that's what we wanted.
Yeah.
But I don't have a house. We didn't have a house, and we found a birthing center, and we had a midwife, and she was great. And they
nice,
offered all of these drugs, and Jennifer didn't use any of them. Like, we were planning on using the nitrous because it's healthy and like natural. It's not some epidural or
mm,
pitocin or whatever else
Mhm.
that like interrupts the bonding of the parent. Like, the pitocin makes it so that the mother and child don't make their natural oxytocin, and so they don't have that bonding emotion when they
yeah,
first are born.
To Will's point, when you walk in there, you're now you're their responsibility. So that's what they tell you, right? That's what
Uh,
they say. Oh, we're responsible to make sure you're well, you're healthy and all this stuff. That's our responsibility now that you're using our facility.
hmm,
So, they come in and they're like, "Oh, we got to do this, we got to do that," and everything. And I'm like, "Oh, uh, you know no, and I don't think
right.
so." And they're like, "Well, and then they did what they always do. Well, we have to, and or else,
We're just following orders,
or
right?
else,
yeah,
Just like
we'll
cops,
we'll have to get the state involved and whatnot.
or
and
else.
and then they come back, and they're doing they're like, "Okay, well, we need to make sure that there's no genetic diseases or anything like that come up on the blood test and everything
Therefore,
like that."
give
I'm
me your
like,
blood.
"Hold on,
Therefore, give me your genetic information
yeah,
now. And if
yeah,
you don't let us test it, then you're being neglectful. Fuck you. And we're going to send cops to your door if you don't let us take his blood."
yeah.
What is that? I mean,
can
what kind of vampire society are we
can I
in?
can I finish the story?"
I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, no, like,
Please be harsh on me. I do that shit. You're gonna
n-
fucking kick me around when I do that.
no,
Go
I'll let you finish interrupting me. Go ahead.
ahead.
I don't want to interrupt you interrupting me.
I'm muted, damn it.
But no, like, they come in, they're like, "Oh, the whole blood test thing and everything like that." And I said, Yeah, so I'm under the impression that you'll like report us if we don't agree to do this. And they said, yeah, basically we'll have to. And I'm like, okay. Well, I want to let you know that I firmly disagree with that. I very much disagree with this being done to my child and everything. But if you're going to threaten to report us, then I only have one question. What are you going to do for pain management while you're doing this? What are you going to do to consider the pain that my daughter is going to be going through while you do this to her? Have you thought about that? I asked them that just like that. I said, have you thought about that? And she said, the doctor turned to me, and the nerve of this fucking bitch to turn to me and say, oh, at that age, children don't feel pain the way that you think. And I said,
Oh,
I said, no, you're wrong.
right.
I said, you are wrong. I
Thank you.
said, that's a living person. That's a living thing. She
Right.
feels pain. If I pinched her on the arm, she'd feel that, wouldn't she? Yeah. Don't you
Obviously.
think?
Obviously.
Yeah,
And the
that's
look on the
such a
like
trip.
the look on the doctor's face, she was like,
Oh,
this guy's asking, like, she was like, like, she even came out to say, like, that is probably one of the best questions I've ever been asked. And
Oh
it's
my
such a
gosh.
simple question. It's such a
Yeah.
simple fucking question.
I,
How is that one of
I,
the best questions you've ever been asked, you asshole? Like, how is that?
at least she's working with you and not being like, well, fuck you for asking. At
Working
least
with me, she was like, you're wrong. And I'm like, no, you're
did
wrong.
she
And she's
really
like,
say you're wrong?
she said, like, oh, they'll, at that age,
Oh,
children
right, the
don't feel
pain
the,
thing. Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. They don't feel
yeah.
pain. Right.
And it's like, no, that's a living thing. They feel pain.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
I just
But I
can't fucking
mean,
believe it.
like, it's a logical thing, and she worked like logically through it with you, right? Like, obviously,
We
she
had to
feels
go to a
pain.
hospital. We had to go to a hospital. We found out that
Mm.
my daughter was breached. And the reason why she was breached, we found out that the umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck.
Mm.
And if we
It's
if we
funny.
if we had taken the chance of doing a natural birth, there's a good chance that my daughter would have died. And we
Right.
didn't know that the umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck until the C-section was completed, because they couldn't see it in the ultrasound. Excuse me, I got a lump in my throat. They couldn't see it in the ultrasound. So,
Mm.
we were, in a corner. Yeah, we got to,
Yeah. You got to do
these
what you got
people,
to do.
Yeah.
like it or not, those people know how to cut other people open and take things out of them.
Right.
And,
You gotta trust at some level. You gotta learn to trust.
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank
That's
God that
definitely the
she's
risk.
okay and she's all good. She
yeah,
was born safe, and
Yeah.
because Will and I weren't born safe, and that was trauma for both of us. And we talked about this
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
our own, like, we both had the cord wrapped around our necks. I had it wrapped around twice, and like it broke, and there was blood everywhere. I mean, every fucking doctor wasn't even in the room. Like, it was
Yeah.
just like total chaos, and I'm sure it was the same traumatic hell for Will as well.
Yeah.
And
My mom said I was lightly blue. So, man,
yeah,
I could have been much smarter if that didn't happen. But
like one
shit.
of those bald dicks that bang on the drums.
For
Sorry.
what? Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, man,
Uh,
it's crazy. It's a lot about conditioning the parent, right? That's
right,
people are Parents are just going with the flow from what they think they know, what they should do,
right,
without questioning it at all. And that's a
yeah,
big problem. Schooling, socializing, all kind any topic when it comes to children, parents just do what culture expects.
right.
yeah.
And they're culture creators. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
now it's normal to have formula. Now it's like
Exactly.
if you breastfeed in public, that's like, oh no, don't do that. Like what?
Yeah.
Like what the fuck? People eat outside all the time. Why can't a baby do that? You know, it's crazy. But they've like pretty soon it's gonna be like Brave New World, and they're gonna be gestating them in the fucking bag. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
For sure.
It's
This is
gonna
why
be
people look down on homeschooling. If you say you homeschool, oh, well, aren't you worried your kid's going to be antisocial? That's like one of the biggest comments that comes up, or
Yeah,
are you religious because you homeschool? Just because you're doing something different from what, you know,
right,
the norm, the cultural norm is.
dude,
right.
I had a conversation just yesterday with a friend, and I went over his house to help him with some dangerous like dangerous work to be done by himself, and he's got a wood burning stove. I was helping him move some
Do
of the
I
wood.
do I also
And
know this kid? I think I know
no,
you. Okay,
no,
okay,
no,
okay.
but like, and we're talking about, because he knows that we're going to be homeschooling our children, and that we plan to do so, and that we're gearing up to do so. And this dude is he's a naysayer. And if he hears this, you know who you are, and I'm not going to throw your name out there, but you know who you are. And honestly, I'm disappointed in you. But in any case, I'll move on. He basically just tried to find a chink in the armor. Every single thing, everything that he could like possibly find to have a negative outlook on how I'm raising my children, not just helping them grow. I'm raising them. Okay.
Right.
And he said that. He said, aren't you worried that there'll be, that it's going to be tough to socialize? Aren't you, like, homeschool kids are weird? And I said, no, 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 no.
Really?
Yeah. And I said,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. I said that's your like the condition talking. I told him, I said, public school kids are the real weird ones. That's weird. That's weird. You're just so conditioned to think that's normal. It's not. I said, it's not. And he said all sorts of other things about how, well, if you're an anarchist and you think that all forms of slavery are illegitimate, and that you want to see that change, and that you want all that to go away, don't you think that you going to work all day every day and keeping your wife home so she can teach the kids and homeschool the kids while you're at work, don't you think that that's you making her your slave? And I said, fuck you, no. I said, no, because my wife and I are together. My wife and I talk often, and it's not always as agreeable as I'd like, but we grow together through disagreements, and that's healthy. And if she wasn't doing this voluntarily, okay, I'm not going to force anyone to do what they don't want to do. That's totally against what I stand for, right? And it's just like these naysayers, man. They try to find a chink in the armor, like I
Uh,
said.
Mhm.
And the
it's
problem
a
is, the real problem is that it's a projection of their own self-loathing. They see somebody else doing good in their life and doing the right thing in their life, and they try to strike them down because they hate themselves, when in fact, like, they're just they might be jealous. Maybe not this person, I talked to, maybe he's not jealous, but
I
maybe deep down inside he's wishing he could do the same thing.
I
And I told him straight up, I said I said that you are participating in a form of parental abandonment when you send your child to that building over there. You're doing that 8 to 10 hours a day. You're telling somebody else to raise your kid. You're participating in a form of parental abandonment. So how do you feel about that? I'm not going to abandon my kids. I'm not going to do it. I have a responsibility to them, and I'm going to fulfill it. And when I'm done doing my day job to make sure that we have a roof over our heads, you know, all those basic things that I've mentioned, you know, and some of my other work. uh, Once I'm done making sure that that's secure, because you know I'm fit to do so, I come home and I'm still on the clock. My fucking job never ends.
Mm.
I'm never off the clock. When do I get a break? I'll never get a break for the rest of my life. They'll be adults, but they're still my children, and I'll still be there for them anytime they need guidance, because I'll raise them properly. And you know what? I hope to God that I do so. I talk a big talk there, but you know, I really hope that I do a good job, that I gain their trust, and that's what it's, you know,
That's
it
what we're
just it
doing.
it
That's what
just
we're trying to do
disturbs
here.
it
Trying to learn
disturbs
how
me
to do that.
how people can be so cynical about these things, and so just it's just so negative. It just
Yeah.
disturbs me. And
I
I told
actually,
him, I'm sorry, Sean. I just have one last thing.
okay. All right.
I told him, I said, if you look into the history of why public school even exists in the first place, and you come away from learning that, and you don't feel sick to your stomach, you're lost. You're lost, bro. I said that right to his face, you know? And it's just a sick history. So in any case,
I
uh,
was, I'm very harsh with people, and um, I'm very opinionated, and I know what's the truth, and I'm firm and I'm assertive, and that's good in some situations, and it's bad in others. And um, Jennifer's best friend and I got in an argument when like we were first meeting. Like it was like our first time really getting to know each other.
well, yeah.
And like I yelled at her. I mean, I was like yelling at her. And I've like Jennifer like didn't interrupt me. She was like crying, and she like she because she knew what I was saying is right,
Mm.
even though it was like harmful for her and her friendship. And like, oh shit, this is the guy that she's introducing me to her best friend, you know what I mean? And I'm like, rah. But she told me that she can't teach her kid. And I'm like you do it anyway. It's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was, and so that was like, I had to fight that. And it was really, I should have had better tact. I should have been more tactful. And I apologized to Jennifer, and I did apologize to her. And I also apologized to her friend. I mean, you don't need to be like that, but I was so adamant because I care so much.
Mm-hmm.
And like now I've got my kid, and I didn't have a kid at the time. You know what I mean? And who am I to be saying that shit? You know. So this is like these are things that these are hurdles that I had to get over. You know, learning to talk to people as they naysay, and like maintaining like a good rapport with your friends, and like being able to have a tempered response to those type of comments that are enraging to me, because who could, anyway, we love her and she's our friend, and like I need compassion to like help show her what, you know what I mean. And she's come a long way, and she's learned a lot of things. We don't need to talk about this person in particular. I'm sorry for it already. Like
It's
Yeah.
all
I'm
good.
sure Jennifer's gonna tell me like what the fuck later. But I love you. I'm sorry, but anyway, my own life is part of this. Like I'm just expressing. So
Yeah.
like I was harmful, and but I was trying to protect. And it's like it's a tough line you got to walk, especially with family. And they've been trained to do television and to do vaccines and give them soda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like you still gotta love these people and like keep your own kids safe. And like I'm worried about when my son grows up, who how is he gonna find a mate that hasn't been fucked with genetically?
Mm.
And like, is this fucking shot?
Valid.
You know what
Wow.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's
Like
heavy.
the future of my family, is like being attacked by fucking Bill Gates and eugenicists because I'm Irish and that's lower than a monkey, so kill them off. You know what I mean? It's deplorable. And anyway,
Yeah, what Sean just said about the Irish, read Charles Darwin's The Descent of Man, and you'll find out
right,
everything you need to know about that in there.
yeah,
Where that social construct of Irishmen being so down and on a almost subhuman level as
right,
some other nationalities or whatever.
right.
All the information you need on that is in a book called The Descent of Man by Charles Darwin.
Mm.
Okay.
Thank you,
You're
James.
welcome.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's a great point. And it comes down to parental education, what the parents know. This is how it's going to affect how they raise their children. And um the theory of evolution, all these theories, these bullshit theories are taught as actual fact
Right,
and truth in school. So not only are you getting the social conditioning and the programming, the mental programming, and getting your your emotional compass completely obliterated, you're actually going into a realm of negative knowledge. That's why unlearning is
Yeah.
just such a huge process. And um, another point, James, what you were saying is parents have to have thick skin when it comes to this. I mean, doing something out of the norm, you got to have thick skin. You got to be grounded and know yourself, because they always want you to re-assimilate, right? That's they're
Yeah.
like
the
you're gonna die
Yeah.
Borg.
thing.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Go on.
for
And
sure.
it's and they like I was saying, we have to have compassion and live with them also. And like, how do we do that? I mean,
Yeah, it's a
because
balance.
it's tough because they are the enemy. Everybody's Agent Smith out there doing the enemy thing. They're
Well, Sean, at some point, there comes a time, I think, where you let those people go and you say, you know what? I've done everything I can to
right,
try to like intellectually arm you so you can do that for yourself. I mean, I've given you references, I've given
right,
you titles of books, I've done this, I've done that, I've tried my best to make you aware, and you do not want eyes to see, you don't want ears to hear, and a brain to fucking think. So you're on your own now.
mhm,
Leave them,
right,
like you don't, yes, compassion and all of that, but there comes a time where
right.
they need to hear it, and it needs to be harsh, because some people won't they won't listen any other way.
I mean, that's why Jennifer didn't interrupt when I was yelling.
Mm,
That's why she just cried and watched it happen. I mean,
yeah,
because it's so important. Like, I did need to speak up, and you know.
yeah.
But anyway, like,
It,
it's an example for all of us. For our kids, we can see them and what they're doing, and we can know like we're glad that we do what we do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a reassurance.
So there's a couple of things that like I would want to say to the listening audience to kind of like, and I'm guessing that because of who the three of us are, that we'll probably end up attracting a lot of men, a lot of fathers that are going to listen to this and maybe try to glean some information off of the three of us so they can try to prop themselves up or build themselves up and bolster their confidence in doing this, the biggest responsibility on the face of the planet, which
The
raising children.
real great work. The real great work.
So like a couple of things that I really want to say is that, first of all, you can do this. Okay, you really can. You have the capacity to do it. You can do it. You've got this far, you can get further. Just believe in it. Believe in yourself and you can do it. Stop hating yourself if you're questioning where you're at in life and everything like that. Just realign yourself and try to let go of some of that dark stuff that's holding you back. Okay. Second, the whole, going to work, coming home and everything like that, we need to, as men, we need to break down that social construct of what makes a man. All right. Yeah. We have a physical biology that a bone structure, whatever, that allows us to do certain physical feats that women cannot. Women have that same thing in an opposite kind of way. But we need to, in the mind, we need to get rid of that mental schism. Okay. We need to be able to cross that border where we think that we're not supposed to be the nurturing one. We're not, things like that. Oh, that stuff. Oh, tending to the wounds and fixing boo-boos and whatnot. That's for mommy. No. I beg to differ. That's for everybody. Men out there listening to this, you can be nurturing to your children too. And that is going to show them that nurturing is a human thing. I mean, and that it's not just a mommy thing or whatever, and that going to work and busting your butt, that's not just what dad does. Point out to them that, oh, your mother's is working too. Make it known. Do things like that. The housework, do it. Suck it up. Fucking get out there and sweep the floor and do the dishes, not because you're asked to, but just because it needs to be done. Your children are going to learn from that. They're going to learn by watching before they learn by listening, because they don't want to listen. They got all those thoughts, all this abilities, all these things happening in their life at such a rapid pace. That's why your kids don't want to listen to you. That's why they don't seem to want to listen. In my experience, it's been true. My 4-year-old son, he's just going everywhere. He wants to do everything. He wants to play. He wants to do this. He wants to do that. He's developing so rapidly and finding out all of these things so rapidly. No wonder he doesn't want to slow down and listen. He's excited to learn about the world. So they absorb through sight. They absorb, and whether they're really listening to what you're asking them to do or not, they're still listening. Okay. So keep that in mind too.
Subconscious is absorbing it all. The subconscious is a sponge.
Exactly. So, I mean, to close out my little rant there, this is really just supposed to be a little bit of a call to action, a little bit of a hey guys, we got this. We can do this. We can do this together too. We can support each other too. It's not an easy world. It's not an easy world to live in, to raise children in, but we can do this. Okay. Let's be the man. Let's be a man here. Step up to the fucking plate and raise your kids. Okay. Or else somebody else is going to do it for you. And then you're going to not know your children. I went through that. I lived that. Okay. My father was not there for me from the time I was a baby, 8 months old. I never lived with my father. I never even seen my mother and father have a decent interaction with one another until the day the man who raised me died. My real father, gave my mother a hug. My whole life, all they did was argue with one another, and that's all I saw between my parents. Okay. cut that shit out. Even if you're not with your kid's mother or whatever, guys, cut that shit out. Your children don't need to see that. Okay. If you're doing that, you're doing damage to your kids. Your kids are a part of you. Your kids are a part of you. Okay. Think about that kind of stuff. That's all.
Thank
Yeah,
you, James. I'm
Well
listening.
said, James. Well
I'm
said.
listening.
There was something I wanted actually to bring to the table tonight too, is and this is a good time to talk about it. What to roll off what
Please.
James was saying, and that's mindset, right? I mean, if anybody's familiar with natural law, and the first hermetic natural law principle is mentalism. So it's all about your state of mind. There's two types of mindsets that children grow into, right? And parents have huge influence on this because it's almost like a mirror of their mindset. And one of them is it's growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And this is really important for parents that have children that are really young in the formative years, the programming years, right? So growth mindset is some things that are related to it is that failure is an opportunity to grow. I can learn to do anything I want. Challenges help me grow. Feedback is constructive. You see where I'm going with this, right? It's
Yes.
it's evolving. When they get to a challenge, they don't close up. They actually open up and see it as an opportunity. Like I was saying, a fixed
Wonderful.
mindset is failure is the limit of my abilities type of mindset, right? When they get to a challenge, they get frustrated and then they give up. I can't do this.
Wow.
I don't like to be challenged. I'm only going to stick to what I know. And
That's what the government is doing to the adults.
oh yeah, well,
I mean, I'm
this is why
listening
I'm
to you
bringing
say
it up
that, and
too.
I'm
Yeah,
like, wow, it's like a
this applies to
society.
parents.
Right.
Absolutely, yeah. Most people are
Yeah.
in a fixed mindset. The
Right.
growth mindset is what I call like the seeker. People that want to seek information, knowledge, and truth. They're in a growth mindset. And
Yes. Just like their kids. And if you
kids,
can be on the same growth level instead of stifling him while he's growing, and you're like, nah, you gotta just, I gotta go to work, leave me alone, that
yeah,
type of shit is like, that's anti, I mean, that's the Satan. But please continue, Will. I'm
no,
sorry.
yeah, no, well said for sure. And humans, they naturally inherently come in with a growth mindset. It's then conditioned out of them to become fixed.
Totally.
So, and these two topics are, it's known, it's two categories in psychology that are known, so people can dive deeper into these two categories. But it's extremely important for parents to get into a growth mindset, and then to transfer that on and be an influence for their children to keep that
Right.
growth mindset going.
Right.
The
We're always learning.
Yeah,
Every failure is an opportunity to learn more. And the real value is the lesson.
exactly,
That's
for
good.
sure,
Those are great principles. I like that.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
and to go off of what you were saying, Will, it's as easy as getting in there, and when you're seeing your kids struggle with something or whatever, and they want to give up because it's struggling is hard, and they it's a lot easier to go and play with that other thing because this one's giving me a problem. So whatever, you just encourage them. You go over there, even if you have to show them that it can be done. Be that example. Show them
Yeah,
that it can be done so they see it. And then like that's a visual reinforcement of the ability, right? Then you have a vocal reinforcement of the ability where you tell them you can do it. You can do it. You know, you can do it.
Right.
You can. You just get in there and encourage them.
And they can see you do it.
Yeah.
They can see you do things. And like when you're proud of yourself, then that will give them the same confidence to be proud of themselves.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah,
Tomorrow
for
morning
sure.
I have plans with my son tomorrow morning. I told him tonight. I said, "You know what, buddy? You know what we need to do tomorrow morning?" He said, "What?" I said, "I think what we got to do, I think you and I got to team up and we got to clean up all your toys." And I said, "You know what though? That's okay because we're going to team up. We'll do it together." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And it's like, yeah, it's just that easy.
Yeah.
He
Right.
just show, just get down in there and show them how it's done. And then they'll be like, yes, it can be done. They will build that confidence. They'll say, yeah, I've seen it get done. I know it can get done. They don't know they're seeing it that way. They don't know they don't know how much sense they're making out of it right away, but they are.
Mhm.
Even at 4, they are. Like
Yeah,
Will
man.
said,
That's
the formative years, you
Right.
know?
exactly formative years, man. Man, that's beautiful. And doing stuff with your kids, these experiences, learning together, this is what kids need, right? Because they're a sponge, so they're learning and they're being programmed by your reaction. That's why I always
Mhm.
say, respond instead of react. So and people now, their kids go at 3 to daycare, preschool, and kindergarten, and all the way up 8, then elementary school, middle school, high school, 8 hours a day away from their parents. You see what's going on is that government and culture, mainstream culture, is actually raising the children. They're the
Right.
ones that are doing the programming. So
Programming. They
and
watch so much TV. I mean, even though the TV's not around anymore, nobody uses TV, they got the internet, but they're still watching TV programming all
yeah,
Yeah.
day on Netflix. And they're like, it's with them all the time. They can't say no to it. You know,
exactly.
it's always in their mind. You can just click. Oh, it's right there in your pocket. Oh, what's gonna happen in the next 90210 is gonna, oh, who's gonna date who with the what? You know,
You're
like,
aging yourself.
dude, I don't care. Like, whatever the fuck. I'm just saying, like, that's the same silly shit that it's always been. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah,
it's like now it's just on the internet, and it's just more like if you look at screen time, it's so much more than it was with the fucking when people you thought kids were in front of TV all the time then. Like, look at it now, and
yeah,
it's the TV is with them, and now they want to just jack in their brain. Like, just go ahead. Transhumanism is the next thing. It's fine. Your kid will be half digital, and we can just upload your kid to the. We don't need school. We'll just download a file into his brain. You
yeah.
know, like
That's
People
why
are
it's
going to be
it's
so
like,
important for parents to understand what's going on right now in
mm,
reality, in the natural world. Some resources for people that want to dive into public education and what it truly is. Research John Taylor Gatto. I
yes,
mean, phenomenal. I got some of his books right here. Dumbing Us Down, the underground, um, uh, the underground condition of America, or the underground schooling system. Just look up
yeah.
John Taylor
Just
Gatto. His
look
books are
at
phenomenal.
look at the he took out an ad in the New York Times just so that he could like give an essay
so
to the people. So
a couple of Gatto's books, Dumbing Us Down, The Hidden Curriculum of Compulsory Schooling,
right,
Weapons of Mass Instruction, A School Teacher's Journey Through the Dark World of Compulsory Schooling,
that's a good one. That's the good one.
a different kind of teacher solving the crisis of schooling. Those are just 3, not off the top of my head.
Thank you for being armed with this, James. We're very
Uh,
thankful.
The one that I was thinking
and
of is the underground history, American
Mhm.
education.
Right. And also
All
sharp.
of his books are phenomenal, but it's
Right.
important to take in that information to get
Right.
to get an accurate uh, perspective. What is
And
going on?
right. And the way that he approaches teaching, you know, where the kid leads his own, like the kid's interest is where you focus, not like you need to do this now and think this now, you know, like,
Self-directed learning.
yeah,
Yes.
like, I mean, he had one of his students wanted to be a swimmer. So he's like, well, how do I make this a curriculum for you? So he said,
Exactly.
go out there and measure every pool in New York City and make reports on like about all the pools. And while you're there, you can swim around and you can say it's school time and you can get your certificate. And,
Yeah.
meanwhile, she's like, she got her fucking certificate and she learned how to swim. And you know what I mean? There's kids that wanted to learn how to do comic books and they
That
didn't want to listen to some teacher. And like he inspires them with their, he sees the spark in there where they're going and like helps that flourish out instead of telling them you must fit into this mold. You know what I mean? It's a totally different way of looking at a child.
That's the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset, right?
Exactly right.
And
yeah.
extremely powerful to understand those mindsets. And um and that's how I do it with my daughter, right? She's pretty much her interests are, I'm making the curriculum around there. And yeah, she's learning how to read. She's a phenomenal reader. Her math, she knows her math and she's doing great at that. All those basics are incorporated in the curriculum.
Of course.
And I love it. I think it's phenomenal. I can get so creative with it. It's a hell of a fucking journey, dude.
Yeah.
Do you ever like? I'm sorry, Bill. Do you ever think of like maybe making some outlines and like you know here's here's what works best for me, and maybe that'll help you guys like some that other fathers can like read through or like like ways of making like curriculums where you're integrating all of the math and all this stuff. Like you were saying when we were talking at the seed conference, you're talking about how you integrate the garden into
Mhm.
like how you're teaching everything because like you can apply it all because it's
Yeah.
right there, numbers and space and all that. Like you can apply it and it's 3D and you know what I mean? They get their hands in there and it's like very, I think that's the way that our brains should be working, you know, and,
100%.
and like writing stuff down in notebooks. I think that is a trigger. That's something that our brains have learned or that we've learned that our brains do. Like we memorize better when we write it. It's like it's weird. Either that or the fact that I've been through public schooling. Maybe my mind has just been scored in such a way that but it helps to remember exact phrases and certain things. Fucking write it down in a notebook, you know. And some people nowadays they got digital things and oh, I'll make a digital note and like shit gets lost and it's
Yeah.
just nothing. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
find a note, a real note, it's like real there. You read it, light hits it, and it hits your eyes, and you're like, oh, and you think about something that you thought about in the past. You know, like if it's a digital file, you got to find it. You got to look for it. It doesn't just stumble into your synchronicity. You know what I mean? Like you got to like it's a different thing, and I think that real like be having a three-dimensional tangible thing like writing out an idea is kind of the same as having your hands in the dirt because it's like it's a process that your body is like moving its muscles at the same time as moving its mind muscle.
Yeah.
I think that learning goes together and like I think that like we produce more chemicals while we're moving that help our brains absorb this information better. You know, like I think that over the years there's different ways of learning that our brains have like evolved into, and the trivium is huge. Everybody should like pay attention to the trivium if you haven't already. And Mark Passio and there's lots of people that do trivium education. Check
Yeah.
it out if you don't know already. But besides that, I mean, there's there's other ways of our brains just naturally over evolving, like over the millennium, like we've evolved to do, and gardening and shit. It's like it's in our it's in us to be learning while we're doing it, you know. And like people say, I learn best when I'm doing it, you know.
Absolutely.
I think there's a chemical component to that.
Oh, 100%, man. Definitely. I mean, sitting in a classroom and just memorizing and regurgitating, that's not an actual experience that's helping you out. It's helping you to learn something, right? We all experience this. Kids experience this in public school all the time, right? They go on summer break, they come back and they've regressed. It's like, that's why they have summer school
Regressed.
to keep their regurgitation going.
Right.
But to answer some of your questions, yeah, I've done a few of these parenting videos, and I am currently writing a series where I dive into some of my curriculum tactics and utilizing the trivium method of discovery, which is critical thinking, and how I
Wonderful.
use that when, we're on a hike, when I'm in the garden with the principles of nature, and how all of these the correspondences with all of these, and how you can use some of these tips and tricks that I've learned, just 7.5, 8 years, and see what works, right?
Well, definitely make sure I will be the first one to listen because
Yeah.
I need to know all that stuff.
Yeah,
It's, go
it's
ahead.
amazing because once you kind of get a certain level of understanding, then you can apply it to anything. um the Trivium and the Quadrivium have a series of books. Actually, I got this whole series. It's the Wooden Books. And
Oh,
there's
yeah.
the Trivium right there. This is and there's only a couple books on the Trivium. There's the an older one by Sister Miriam Joseph, the Trivium, and but that one's a little bit kind of esoteric. Still phenomenal information, but this is made for like kids to understand,
Awesome. Who's the
preteens
author?
and stuff.
What's the author?
The author is it's just Wooden Books. They
Wooden
do
Books.
they
That's the
do a
publisher.
collection. That's the
Okay.
publisher, but they create the books. This is written by, I think it's like 6 people,
Okay.
and they also have a quadrivium too. But this
Wonderful.
stuff is phenomenal. All these books, they have all kinds of topics.
So
Really
that
great to incorporate for all ages.
so that could be like a textbook to have in your house if you're doing
Definitely.
homeschooling. That's like a reference material.
For sure. It's good
Awesome.
for the parents to know this information for the younger kids, and then when the kids get, preteens, teenagers, it's a textbook for them to learn as well.
Good.
So, yeah.
It's good to have in the home, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then hands-on experiences, right? I mean, I think you're right with the chemical composition that goes hand in hand with that. Um, at least for my daughter, she's extremely visual. So when she sees something or interacts with something, it sticks really good. And this is why reading to your child really, really young, um, and following your finger with the words as you read them, and they make the connection, verbally. So they got the
Mm,
audio and then the visual. It sticks even better. Uh,
mm.
so
That's great.
I think the majority of people are visual learners.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I'd
And
agree.
if you can learn how to how to wield the 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 focus of attention, I guess it's weird to say, but like as an artist, like, you know, you're when you look at something, your eye moves around, you know what I mean, and it, like the mechanics of it, like if like it's bright on the edges or something, your eyes will fall out of the frame and
mm,
shit. So there's like different ways of like visual, like visual elements, like even if you don't know what's happening, you're learning from visual stuff. And
yeah,
that's why Kubrick is so great, like, because like he's using everything visual to like,
absolutely.
you know what I mean, and it's all subconscious. It's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, correlating thinking, correlative thinking is really good with kids. That's, you know, that's increasing pattern recognition
Right,
by using visual aspects.
right.
You know, correlating thinking is, you know, you have a wheel equals 3 and a bird equals 1. So what does it equal? It's, you know, it's 4, and or it has a different symbol. That's just a crude definition, but there's
Mhm.
multiple levels of that.
It's like applying abstract thought to a symbol, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
And it's like something that humans do really well. You know, that's why. I mean, look at the picture of Manly P. Hall up there on your left. Like, you know, it's they use the symbols because they're effective for our brains. And like, if we can learn to wield them, then we are the magicians in our own life. And if you can wield for your kids to see a magical world of like learning and enchantment, you know,
Yeah.
even though like you're pissed about how this happened and you gotta get your tire changed and like whatever, like, you want to fight over this and whatever, like
That
you,
stuff doesn't matter.
right, your
That's
kids,
all,
right.
you
And
know, that
I need to know that that stuff doesn't, like, I need to keep telling them, you know, we all need to keep telling ourselves like,
that tire can be replaced. You'll get another car. You'll find another place to
no, but
live. Like all
the
that stuff.
stress is
Like,
like,
yeah, yeah. But it's
that's what
like
I'm talking about. I'm talking about stress.
it's a healthy
Yeah,
tool for us as the adults in these situations to remind ourselves that that stuff will go away. We have a
right.
repeat button on that. We got a repeat button there. You can buy a new tire. You can do it. Sucks in the moment, but you
Well
got to move,
said.
you know, but like you got a repeat button, you know, you can do that.
Yeah, no,
Takes a
well
little bit of
said.
money, whatever, but what can't be repeated? What can't we press the reset button on? Those are the things that we need to focus on the most.
Mm,
Right.
And everything else can have the do-overs, but the things that can't, we gotta hone in on that and really just make that our target to just say, okay, I'm fuck everything else that I get wrong. That I'm gonna do everything in my will, everything in my power to put care toward that to get that right, at least as right as I can, because no one's perfect, but I'm going to do as much as I can to get as close, you know, to getting that part right. You know,
yeah.
I
that's
love I love you, James. Thanks for
I
saying that shit. You're my best friend, man. I love hearing that type of shit from you.
love you
It's
too,
great.
brother.
That's
It's great.
awesome. You know, my dad my dad said something when my daughter's mom was pregnant. He said, "Look, he's like, this is my dad advice. As parents, we do the best that we can, and we hopes that in hopes that um that our children will do better than us."
Right.
So it's you know, it's
My father
evolution.
said the
It's a
opposite. Sorry, but he did. I said that to my father one day, and he's like, "That's not what it's about." I'm like, "You're a fucking asshole."
Oh shit.
Out of here. I
Yeah,
swear to God, I said, don't we want to just make sure that our children, are better off than we were? And he's like, that's not really what it's all about. I'm like, thank God I didn't grow up around you.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
That dude
Damn.
sucks.
Yeah. Well, no, go on, Will. I'm sorry. I'm
Oh no,
sorry.
it's all right. No, it's good. So I thought about that, and that's a really good point. And it's not about make sure my kid is set for life financially, or a big house and cars. None of this materialistic shit. It's about the psychological toolkit that you're going to give your child,
Right.
so your child can function and operate at a higher level than you, right? take
They can
take the
face
baton and go.
any
Yeah.
situation.
The
It,
triathlon of life.
yeah,
Mm.
for sure. Absolutely. And then, then they can pass down and transfer that information to their children, and so on and so on. That's how we get into a progression of evolution.
Right.
Nowadays, it's the complete opposite.
Well, I
So,
Yeah.
mean, some fathers are making changes, you know,
oh, for sure.
like we here, my dad made a change. Like his dad beat him, and now he never beat us. Like, he's changing, we're growing. Each generation is another chance, and I like they failed on many things, during parenting, and I will pick up and I will do better. You know what I mean? I would never, put my kid in public school, or circumcise him, and all these things that I had to deal with. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
then we're gonna, like, we've been through it. We're done with that. Now we're gonna give them better because, like, I mean, they are the best of us. And you can let all your bad shit die with you, and you want the best of you to live on in them.
Yeah. Yeah. Save that baggage that we pass to our kids. And,
Mm.
and that's why, little girls grow up and they find a partner, a man that resembles their father, and then vice versa, with sons and mothers. So there's that connection of the opposite sex that sets the standard for their future relationships.
Right.
And
Right.
that's
That's
why
why
it's
the
important both parents are involved on equal levels. I'm in a co-parenting situation, as a lot of people are. I'm in a good co-parenting situation compared to most, but
Yeah.
still, as the individual parent, you have responsibility. And I guarantee I've seen this with a lot of my friends, and I've spoke with a lot of people. The one that has led by the example of being moral, a good human being, and has, a good mentality, um, that is what will stick with the child as the child grows up.
right,
All the negative and the just the diluted emotional uh, bullshit baggage, that will burn off by the parent that's leading by example in a true moral standpoint.
Yeah.
right,
They'll be able to create their own. I mean,
Yeah.
it's true. I mean, people have experiences, and our children will grow up and they'll have their own experiences, and not all of them will be positive. They're going to have negative. There's going to be negative experiences. They're going to have, they're going to make mistakes and have bad consequences because of them. And they have to do that, because if they don't learn that, they're going to be so shut down when they're met with any sort of, any sort of like challenging time, or, oh no, like, what do I do? They'll have no fortification of their own, like, of their own ability to, like, either defend themselves, or,
right,
to keep themselves moving, keep themselves
right.
going,
To not be a slave.
Yeah.
right. To not be a slave, to not be under somebody else's thumb,
Hmm.
and whatnot, like, the wife and I, we were talking the other night, and we formulated a plan, and it's basically like it's a plan in the making. It's a rough draft, but we're thinking about our legacy. We're thinking about what our parents have on both sides, her and mine, you know, don't really have any. There's no legacy, right? There's no I don't know if it's important to
Already
most
there,
people,
you
but
mean?
like
Like you?
there's no like family business. There's no like family vocation, like any trade or skills that get passed down that actually mean anything. There's nothing really like that. And we're thinking to ourselves, well, maybe that's something that we can do. Maybe that's
Right.
something that we, in our position where that we're in, that's something that we can take on. We got all these other things that are coming natural to us because we really, 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 really want it. And we're going to will that into creation. But and we're going to do it. But all the other stuff that's ancillary to the will of, willing all this other things into these other things into creation, the ancillary things, as far as like what do we really leave behind for our children, right? And how many people really think about that these days when we're in such an instant gratification train of thought? And this is the way the world is built, right? Postmodernism and all this other stuff. And but like, not a lot of people, I don't think that way. I don't think they do, because a lot of people are out there reaping the benefits of maybe what their parents left behind for them, and they don't have to worry about that. Maybe that's one way, but we're thinking about that. Thinking, what are we leaving behind for our kids? What are we doing to bring our family out from the mud? You know, to be,
Awareness.
right,
Yeah.
to be more spiritually armed, to be
Mm,
more self-aware, really, of
right.
all these other things,
Sovereignty.
that are really, really great, right?
Mm,
But how do we operate in the world and be able to opt out of the system
hmm,
as much as humanly possible? Well, a lot of that comes from being maybe having a skill, something that you can do
right.
independently, right? Where you're not working,
Right.
nobody's your boss, right? It was funny, Sean and I were talking quite some time ago, and I had a Freudian slip where I said my owners. And I was talking to Sean about the owner of
Yeah.
the company that I work for, and I meant it like my work, the owner of my work. And I said like the owner of my job, like my where I work, the company I
Right.
work for, like, and I had that.
Your mind knows
And I
you're
was
a
like,
slave.
whoa. And Sean laughs at me. He goes, your owner? He's like, your owner, really? And I'm like,
Yeah, dude.
oh.
I don't let that shit slip.
And
I fucking bring that up.
but yeah, but
But
it kind of jump started that idea, though, like to
right.
bring it back, like it jump started that idea, like, wow, I just had wow, that is a Freudian slip there. I
Mhm.
can't believe it. Wow, I'm not gonna let my kid. I
Right.
I gotta take a step back from that and see
Sovereignty.
what I can do. See what I can do to change, to change my little corner of this world,
Right.
and really maybe I don't know, help them later on in their life.
Right.
Who knows what it is, but like,
The ability to face those future moments where failure happens, or that's you're giving them the fortitude, you're giving them their spine,
yeah,
Yeah.
and you gotta
something to
be
rely
firm
on,
with it.
something that they could rely on.
Yeah.
The
And
best thing would be, right, is their mind.
Right.
Giving them the knowledge to understand how their mind works, their
Mm,
body, their emotions, what the emotions are used for. This is stuff that can be passed down to your kids. And like you said, James, they're going to have their own experiences and their own fuck ups. That's what we're here to do, right? We're here to fuck up and learn from those fuck ups and
Yeah.
evolve, learn our lessons. That's what this reality is. It's a big schoolyard. So giving them the tools to know themselves at an early age and keep evolving from there. I mean that is phenomenal. But like you said, the getting in that growth mindset, we need to start thinking generationally, because the
Yeah.
social engineers, that's what they do. They
Yeah,
plan
Yeah.
50 years in
hundreds,
advance, 100 years
hundreds.
in advance. They
Yeah,
are they're putting action, and they're in a growth mindset thinking generation.
they created Bill Gates. I
Oh,
mean,
Dr. Bill
Dun
Gates.
dun
like
dun.
their machinations and their plans created this monster of a person that
Yeah.
like that. Look at Rockefeller. Like, he was created by his dad was a lying snake oil salesman, and he
Yeah.
was selling rock oil. So, and he was fucking charging like tons of money on some shit that cost 10 cents. And it's like you're going from town to town, knocking women up and just lying his face off.
Mm.
And like his kid learned and like, never took a drink of alcohol because then someone could take advantage of you. And like that kind of tenacity flowers into this evil, you know and
Yeah.
they've been creating people like Bill Gates,
Dun
and
dun dun.
we we need to create something that is gonna fight like we do.
Well, Sean, funny you mentioned that because I want to introduce you to Gil Bates.
Great. Yeah, great. Well, he's getting put under the bus now. They're throwing him under the bus now, and you see, like, because he's used up his usefulness, and he's a perfect little, like, everybody can hate him now, and like, Trump is gone, so now we can hate this dude, and like, that's why his wife is leaving him. Like, it's all created for our perceptions. you know
Yeah.
like, of course he's an evil snake. He's created to be so. You know what I mean? That's how these fucking foundations are run. They're run by psychopaths that are created generationally. Like,
Exactly.
they're tortured in order to be psychopaths when they get older, to take the reins of evil power. And we need to fucking give our kids like the good power, to take the good power of the future, and to have confidence and to know and understand what's right, the morals, like the principles. It's like a foundation that can be built upon, you know.
Exactly. And that's, in my opinion, that's what we need to do. Give them the foundation. They're going to build on top of that.
There's
Right.
no feedback loop or anything like that. You guys can still hear me fine. My headset's wireless. It died.
No, you're good.
Yeah, you're
All right,
good. We can
cool.
still
You
hear
guys,
you.
Yep.
there's no echo. You guys can't hear yourself. Sorry,
Oh,
Will, to interrupt the
No, you're
recording.
fine.
All right, cool.
Yeah, no feedback.
no, that sounds good.
All right, good.
Sweet.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, guys,
This has been great. Like, it really,
for sure.
I love talking to you. Like, both of you are very, like, they're helping my mind, and that's why I'm here. Really, I mean, I don't know how I could benefit others because I'm just a sponge right now, you know. And I
This is what it's
appreciate you
all
so
about.
much.
Is just I appreciate you, Sean and James, man. This is, I think, more we can do more of these conversations, and I encourage other people to engage in conversations, and it's bringing it to the surface and working it out, and just like all parental knowledge, it's going to start with the self,
Mm,
right? So
right.
doing that
And
work.
fixing, like, doing parenting is really what has fucked the entire world. And if we could just do a better job parenting this generation, you know, like not to not to get mad at the last generation, but you know, or ourselves for neglecting our own duties, you know. But now we, you know, we're getting our bootstraps now, and we're getting it together, and like we're helping each other. We're,
Yeah.
you know, and we don't have to rely on the government to like, you know, tell us how to do parenting, you know. And this, you know, this coronavirus is a blessing because now they're not going to come around and say, "Why aren't you going to well visits?" Oh, because I don't want to fucking go near its coronavirus. Ooh.
Why
Perfect
would I bring my kid
excuse,
to the doctor if my kid's not sick?
right, to get a vaccine. It's a whole schedule. It's a schedule intended for vaccine.
Yeah.
So like if you don't agree with that, then you're one of them and they put you on a list.
Well,
And
so
then,
Sean, what something you just said about being angry at the previous generation or generations before that, but we just got to accept it and let it go, right? You
right.
can't, you guys out there listening to this, you know, I've been doing work on this recently, and I'm telling you, it's really refreshing to be able to really like understand the past and to know how you got to where you are now, and to be able to move on and to
Forgive.
you know, to let it go, not forget about it, but just let it go.
Mm.
And it's I had something, I had a thought in my head and I was on to something, but it's
Letting
about
it go.
realizing what.
Letting it go, I said. It
Yeah,
went.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I let my thoughts go, but um no, man, it's really just about doing that shadow work, you know, realizing that at some in some way or another, a lot of us are suffering from some parental abandonment, and most of us are. And I mean, it's really about realizing that, and realizing that, you know, that anger, that's what I was going to get at, that anger you have for that for the generation before that, you or before them or whatever, all it's really going to do is put you in a state of fear in a way.
Yeah.
And it's
You
going to
gotta
lead,
forgive.
it's going to lead you there.
Right.
And that fear is going to put you in a state of self-loathing,
Right.
and you're going to not have any self-respect. And how can you carry on through life being that type of person? You
Right.
can't. You honestly cannot.
Right.
In no respectable way, at least you can put on a brave face and pretend everything's okay, but deep down inside you're torturing yourself. And Sean, you know a lot about trauma. You've done a lot of research about psychological trauma and trauma-based mind control and whatnot. You and I've talked ad
Right.
nauseum about it before.
Yeah.
But it's true though that we repeat these cycles, and we pass these traits down, and these traumas get repeated, right? And that's because it's fear, right? You're afraid of, in a way, I've come to realize it in a certain way that that cycle gets repeated because of fear, and because of lack of self-respect, and self-loathing, apathy, all these really negative characteristics that a person can have. It's really all about coming out of that, finding a way to come up and raise yourself up out of that.
Right.
So those, you know, no one is perfect. Get that through your head first, but we can strive to be the best that we can be, and not you know, pass down that trauma, deal with your own abandonment issues, because of,
Right.
and have courage, not fear, you know.
Right.
It's going to
Yes.
lead,
This is
have,
our chance.
yeah,
This is
have
our
love,
chance to
have love
heal.
for yourself. And if you don't have love for yourself, this is the harsh part. If you don't have love for yourself, you don't have love for your children, because they are you.
Right.
Deal with it, folks. If you know,
Yeah.
Right.
find
Love
me, come talk
yourself.
to me, and tell me how wrong I am. I don't care. I'm not wrong. So, and that's
Right.
hard to hear.
I mean, correspondents, like literally, they are us.
Yeah,
You know.
they are a piece of us.
Right.
And not even to that point, but how do you give out something to somebody else that you first don't have for yourself? I can't give
Right.
Sean $5 out of my pocket if I don't first have it in my pocket.
Right.
How can you love it? Like it's the same idea for all the
Love.
other stuff I was talking about.
Right. And
Exactly.
if you can teach them that love comes from inside, not from other things, like you give it, it's a gift, not like a take. You know,
Yeah.
if people can learn that, like they're all better. And this whole world is all better.
Excellent points, man. Excellent points. Yeah, no, phenomenal. Phenomenal. I know I'm getting close on time. That's a great part to wrap it up on. That's powerful for sure. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
This is our chance to like be good parents, to like fix it for the next ones. Because like I was fucked up and I listened to Deicide. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, blame it on God, right?
but exactly, like that's a symptom of things. It's not like the cause, it's a symptom, you know? And like that needed to be healed. And like it took years for me to get over that shit. Now I can love people. You know, I
Yeah.
used to hate. Right,
Resentment is just builds up. It's just an anchor in your progress, in
right,
your evolution and self improvement. So it definitely starts with the individual, and communication is huge with the other parent
right,
as well,
right,
together or not. It comes down to doing the self work, communicating with the other parent, and being the example.
right.
Exactly.
I'm listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys, man. That's phenomenal, phenomenal chat.
This is great, and
Absolutely.
we should have more chats about other topics. I think this is great. This is nice that you guys get to know each other, and you know, I'm just so happy for all of this that's happening and how everybody's growing, and like I'm just so glad to be a part of it. So
Yeah, man. What, you guys want to go around and plug your website for the listeners?
James,
Oh yeah, I very recently just published my first website. It's called freeyourmindne.com. So it's Free Your Mind New England, and it's really in its most infant state right now. But I mean, you can go on there, read the homepage, all this stuff. It's really just about uh, trying to form like meetup groups so we can discuss all these topics together. And maybe we don't all have all the answers, but we can find those answers together, right? So on my site, there's a lot of I've included links to not only Sean's material, to Will's material, to everybody from Mark Passio to Michael Tellinger, to all these different people that are really trying to break the chains that the world has around your brain. So that's what my site's all about. Free Your Mind New England. So it's freeyourmindne.com. And well, I mean, I host the podcast called A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth. You can find it on Spotify, really anywhere, right? You can find me on all the social media platforms too. Go on my website, all the contact information's on there, so feel free to explore and tell me what you think. Not going to change how I do it, but you can tell me all you want.
that's great. I'm glad for you, James, and I hope that you find more people in the New England area that think like you. And I'm so happy that you found those other parents. At Do you want to tell that story? What do we still have time? Will?
Will said that we're running short on time, so I think
Okay.
out of respect for the man there,
All right.
we can maybe talk
Yeah.
about
We're
There's
definitely going to do a round two for
Okay,
sure.
great. That's great because this story was great. Like, and now James has another family that he met in that area, and it's like it's tough to be the only one, you know. So
Yeah.
if I'm glad that I'm glad that you have like people are able to congregate and find each other. So that's important. I think that's a great feature of your website. I'm
Hell
glad
yeah.
for that. And I
What
like,
about you? Where do people find your stuff?
I have a podcast. Um, that's kind of where I like release all of my brain's pent up aggression. Um, it's called Wake the Dead, and you can find that pretty much anywhere. And I talk about uh, art, and I talk about the mind, and I talk about pretty much whatever I think of. There's no realm, there's no boundaries. But I'm an anarchist, and I'm gonna be coming across whatever happens. And I look forward to the future. Like, I'm confident that I have within me. I can just open it up, and it flows out. So I'm glad that I have a, a way to channel that, and that's my podcast right now, Wake the Dead. And you can find me at onegreatworknetwork.com. I am a featured content creator, same as Bill. Um, I have like a blog page where I put links and other material that that I had featured on or whatever. It's aggregated there. OneGreatWorkNetwork.com. And I thank Mark Passio for hosting me at that place. And um, I hope to build a larger portfolio. And I am, I'm looking at making a regular appearance, regular shows, like Will has. He's got a regular slot on the network, and I'm looking at my my future itinerary. I'm lining it up, and it's formulating. It's turning into a thing. Um, so I'm sure that Wake the Dead will be expanding, you know, and I sell. James is wearing one of my shirts. This my mom actually did the bird. Yeah. This anarchy is the definition. It teaches everybody what you're all about when you're out in the world. And I've got that design, and I also have this here. It's pro cannabis, and I also have like a pro LSD design where it's bicycle day, and you can find these shirts. And if you do choose to purchase a shirt, it's it helps me a little bit to become less enslaved, because I got a terrible job and I work 10 hours a day and it sucks. And if I can spread my art, that's really what I want. And I want everybody to come look at it and to wear it and spread it out. Just I want it to populate the world, because I think I got great ideas. I don't know. So, and I'm so thankful to have this place and this ability to do so. And thank you, Will, for inviting us here.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. You guys are both awesome, and I've checked out James your new site, man. It's looking great. That's gonna be phenomenal. It's excited to see where you're taking it, And Sean, yeah, your podcast and your store, man. I got some of those shirts. I rock them. I love them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
my
brother.
website is naturalfreedomleague.com, and we discuss objective morality and the inherent immorality of government, and we dive into the causal factors of the human condition and natural law. And shortly, I'll have some more presentations on conscious parenting and dive deeper into that. And then, of course, us three can get together again soon and expand on this combo, man. I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate
Awesome.
you too, Will, and
Wonderful.
you, Sean, as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we're growing, and the future is, could be anything, and it's wonderful to be a part of it, and our kids are gonna benefit so much from us, and from us changing our minds and doing that little bit of change for them because we care. So,
Well said, man. Excellent, guys. I appreciate both of you, and let's get together soon, man.
Oh yeah, brother.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Thanks for tuning in, people.